Okay, because we have only half an hour, so let's start our webinar right now. So welcome everyone to Performetrics webinar, Mastering Data Lifecycle Management in T24. I'm Andrew, team manager and performance engineer at Performetrics, where I focus on empowering the financial sector with robust core banking and observability solutions. Today, we are diving into the critical world of data lifecycle management, or DLM, which is key to ensuring efficiency, compliance, and performance in T24 systems. I'm very excited to introduce our expert speaker, Rakesh, a T24 engineer with deep knowledge in optimizing DLM processes. Rakesh will guide us through practical strategies to excel in this vital area. Yes, please feel free to ask questions in the Q&A section. And yes, basically, Rakesh, over to you.
Okay, hello everyone. Before going to the DLM, we have our own tool, OFS data generator tool. We have designed it. So how this works is just you need to specify what fields I need, what data type it is, and the size. So it will generate depending on the applications we choose. For example, a customer, what we need is a field. This is a field. What is a data type? Either it's a alphanumeric character, and what's the size, 14, 20, like that. We can specify. It will generate the result in CSV format, which we can load it into the T24. Like that, we have it for all the T24 applications and local tables. So yeah, let's move into the data lifecycle management. So what is this data lifecycle management in T24? So in T24, we have something called live database and archival database. So what live database does, it stores all the latest live DB data. And when it is old, like 15 years or 20 years after that, bank will choose it to move it to archival, and then they'll keep it for a few years and delete it in case if they want to. So what happens for this 10 to 15 years of time in life, the database growth will be a huge, and they can't control. For example, if you want to fetch any details through an inquiry, it will give a timeout due to huge database size. In this data lifecycle management, what we will be doing is the live database, we will split into the live as well as the read-only database. For example, we have 15 years of live data in which we'll try to choose 3 months, only the 3 months data to be in a live, from 3 months to 7 years to be in read-o database, RO, and then the remaining we'll try to move it to archival. So we can do this for each application depending on the size. That we'll call it as a data separation. And then copy and purge services. How we'll move the data from live to RO, then RO to archival, and then after copying, purging, nothing but deleting the data. We'll make sure all the data is copied, required data is copied, and then we'll delete the copied data in live. So we have linked live and RO database together. We can fetch the details from RO whenever it is required, and the live DB will be light. Then lifecycle management. So this lifecycle management is nothing but once we implement the DLM, while implementing, we'll choose which application has live retention date as 3 months, and RO retention as 7 years, ARC retention as 10 years, something like that. After the implementation as well, we can change this accordingly. That will call it as lifecycle management. And then what are the performance improvements if we choose this? So in this session, let's see how it goes. So if we look at this diagram, so live plus age data. So why we call it as live plus age data? Because in live during the CAB, we'll only need the latest live data in most of the cases. The old and aged data, whichever it is there, it will stay there as it is. It's of no use for us only for few inquiries like account statements for past year or something like that. But we don't need all the data in the live. So this one we'll split it into two parts. One is T24 live database. It will be as it is. We'll introduce another database, non-volatile database. This is nothing but read-only database. In this, we will move the remaining older data, older than 3 months or older than 6 months data to the non-volatile database. And then after retaining it for a duration of few years, we'll again move it to archival. Archival is the last step. As of now, we have live and archival, but now what we are introducing is this non-volatile database, read-only database, where data stays for a particular period of time. It's read-only database. We can fetch the details accordingly. So live DB will be a lighter one. At least 30 to 40% of the data will be minimized in the live database. Same for the queries. How we index the database tables here, like the same way we do the RO database syntaxes as well. So when we trying to fetch the details from non-volatile database, it will be faster. So live will be faster anyway because data is moved, and RO will also be faster because it's indexed and taken care. So this is what we are doing, splitting the live into live and RO and interlinking it. Whenever we want the details from RO, we can fetch it accordingly. How we can fetch it, I'll let you know. So this data separation. So how it is done. So in live database structure, we have record ID and XML. In non-volatile, we have another value as well that is called pdate. So pdate is nothing but the date on which the records will start to move from live to RO. So, and live retention is also a key aspect to consider. Suppose, example, funds transfer, we are considering a value date or booking date, any date as a P date, and giving a live retention of 3 months. That I'll explain it in our next session, next slide clearly. So from today to last 3 months data will be in live. Previous to 3 months to till 7 years, it will be in RO. Like that, we'll split and do the data separation. And then what we do is copy and purge service. So what these services do is nothing but our generic service. It identifies which application, what data has to be moved from live to RO. That's what it does. It just identify. So this is the table name, and these are all the records you need to move. And then RO copy service. What it does, the identified data in each table will be moved from live to RO database. Once this is done, we have purge service. After confirming that all these two are done, it will try to delete the copied data from live. So these are all interlinked process. It will identify, this will copy. After copying, the live data, which is copied to RO, will be deleted. The retained data will be as it is. So these three are the services which does that. We also have archival service to move it to archival as well. We can use scripts as well for that. So lifecycle management. So for example, uh, arrangement, A dot arrangement is an application. We want to move some of the records from live to RO. How we'll decide? So contract closure date. Usually we'll go to a activity history, and in that activity history close date we'll choose, and then from that date we'll try to check the live retention. From that date to 1 month, we'll keep it in live. For example, today is 15th May, and then live retention is 1 month, which means April 15th till April 15th, we'll have all the records in live. Before that, what it will do, it will again check the RO retention. If mostly we'll use it 7 to 10 years for this. From P date to 7 years, we'll retain it in RO, and then after 7 years, ARC retention we'll check. We'll move to ARC, and then here in ARC retention, if we want to delete any non-financial records, we'll choose to delete it after arc retention. So let me explain. Live retention is nothing but live database storage data. RO retention is RO database storage. Arc retention in Arc, how long it needs to store. After 1 month, the live records or the previous records will be moved to RO. After whatever the specified data here, 7 years or 10 years, it will be moved to ARC. Then if ARC retention is mentioned and archival services are run, it will be deleted. So before live and ARC was there, now we are introducing something called read-only retention and database. So that will store the data and we can fetch whenever it's required, and then it will be only a read-only one. We'll only do most of the stuff with the live retention data.
Rakesh,
And
what will be, sorry, can I
yes,
interrupt you?
please.
Can you
Yes.
go back to that previous slide? I have a question.
Yeah.
What will be the performance impact of implementing the DLM?
Okay. First thing is we are moving data. We are only keeping 1 month data. For example, we have 10 years of data. We are keeping 1 month data here. What happens? First thing is we save a lot of database in live, which means lighter database. Yeah. We only have fewer records. Other things will be in read-only database, like for example, 30/70, we can imagine 30% here, 70% will be moved.
Okay.
So one is live inquiries or request and response time will be good. In case if you want to fetch the read-only as well, we will be doing the same kind of indexing here. So read-only retention will also be good. So faster request and response here. And then when it comes to performance, we only deal with the live database. So obviously, performance improvements will be a lot.
Okay.
One is
Okay.
database, other one is quick request and response time here.
Cool.
We have a slide for that. I'll also explain other improved performance details in it.
Sure. Thanks.
So yeah, how we fetch the details. So we have inquiries in T24. By default, after implementing the DLM, we have something called include.dl as additional field. If we choose as yes, what happens? RO data, whatever the data which we moved will be shown. If you choose as known, no means only live data will be shown. Live DB data will be displayed. So how we can confirm? We can take an extract before the DLM implementation, what are the live record count, and we can take an extract after the DLM implementation, live and RO record count. So without this include.dl, which means if it is no, we only get the live records. If we set it as yes, we only get live plus RO. We get live plus RO, both the records. So if you want to fetch the details prior to 3 months or 6 months of retention period, we can do it through inquiry. And there is another confusion here, how to fetch the archival or historical data. So is there any interlinked with these applications or anything? Yes, it is. So what we are moving is not only the live, we need to understand live database is different and live application status is different and history records are different. So live and history both are nothing to do with the read-only database. You can also move the historical records prior to 3 months and then keep the last 3 months in the live. So we shouldn't confuse with the history or archival. How we need to fetch through backend is nothing but we have any table account $HIS. That's the table. Live count fbnk dot account $HIS will get the count. Dollar RO will have to include if you want to fetch the details of RO as well. So history arc we shouldn't confuse with this. And then performance. One is, yeah, I told you reduce live DB size. Second one is improving the live DB performance. So since the DB has been reduced, the request and response which we get will improve a lot. In case of RO also, we get the same results. If you want to fetch the RO details, it will also be indexed. It will be the database will be taken care. So we get the same result, better response time, even if we archive the data. And then you have something called space reclaim mechanism. So what does it mean? We have 100 GB of data in any application, out of which we are now only 30 GB. We have 30 GB of data in it. 70 GB is already moved to RO. What we can do in this live database? We can either hand over the leftover to DB, or we can utilize the space for same application. What we can do is observe a growth over a period of month. Like for example, after DLM implementation, how long the database has been growth from 30 to 40 or 30 to 50 GB within a month. Then we can allocate 50 GB of data, say for side plus a buffer 10 GB additionally to the same application, or we can hand it over to the DB and then allocate whenever it's necessary. We have that option. So application specific date range partition and data maintenance is possible here. So we get to maintain our database and clearly define what needs to be there, where it needs to be there, and everything. And then additional features in DLM. So in every year, in every release, T24 release, apart from improving the performance improvement of all the other applications, they also modify the DLM. So we have this arc generic. This can be run in auto mode. As per the R25 release, these are all the additional implementations which are being carried out in DLM. One is you can run this service in auto mode. Before, what we used to do is we should run it in specified time, start it, stop it accordingly, but this can be taken as a part of auto mode. And then another one is archival. So incremental archival. So one after the other, chronological order archival can be done by this archive mechanism. And then before and all, we used to do some scripts and use DLM progress to check all this, what is happening with this copy purge, all those services. But now we have DLM monitor. As soon as we start with the DLM, what is happening, where it is happening in these applications, what is happening, everything will be shown in DLM monitor. And then suppose if you want to back up the key list, so I told you our generic copy and purge services will know what are the records which needs to be moved. That key list, we can take a backup and use it for our reconciliations. And then another thing, so we can exclude the RO data from being processed in batch jobs. So this can also be done. So RO records usually it will be processed in some cases that can be excluded using a scenario in PGM file by making it as no RO. So this is the latest change in the performance improvements of the DLM. And then apart from this DLM implementation, what we will support is complete thorough DLM testing. So let me go here. So for all the applications, we are expertised in testing clearly. So end to end for each application, whether it's moved from uh, live to RO, means this arc generic services has identified the key list properly, and then copy a service is running properly, it has copied properly, and then if there are any errors in between, and then checking the purge services and everything. And for each application, whether the mentioned retention periods are taken care of properly. And apart from this, all the regression testing. For DLM, we'll have to install latest updates for other linked application that also will take care of the testing part. And apart from that, we'll also do the project management end to end from starting till end of this DLM procedure. So if you want to implement DLM in your bank, so please do contact us. We have very good experience in testing, project management, and project implementation. So if you have any questions, please let us know.
Sure. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Rakesh. Awesome stuff. I have one question from the audience. Um, Can you tell us more about the steps involved when bank moved to DLM?
Okay, so I can tell you on high level. So these are all the steps. So for this data separation, we have different scripts. First, we'll have to import the DB from the production, and we'll have to check how long it is being taken. This is offline activity which you'll have to uh, check the shutdown time of a bank. And then there are a lot of scripts here which will identify how we'll have to configure the live DB, how will we have to configure the non-volatile database, and how we'll interlink them. This is the first process. And then the DLM services. That's nothing but copy and purge services. Uh, there are a lot of efforts we'll have to make to identify this, like for each of the application, what we need to do, what's data size, and how many records are there, what's the live retention we can choose, what's the RO retention we can keep, and ARC retention. After identifying this, we'll run these DLM services here. And then once the DB is ready and we DLM services are ready and everything, we'll run it. And then once the running is complete, what we'll have to do is the thorough testing, complete testing of this. After testing, regression testing will also be important, and then performance observability as well in this. So a lot of scripts are involved, and it's a huge task. So you can contact us.
Great. Okay, well, I have one more. Um, okay, I have two questions basically. How to fetch historical DB in T24 inquiry?
Okay. Uh, for live, we can just keep that application live name in the file name. For history, we'll have to suffix it with the $HIS in inquiry and design it first. That will show live and history records, but not the live DB and RODB. If you want RODB as well, this is what we need to do. Include.dl has to be set as yes. And then application name has to be archived with, I mean, suffixed with IRC or HIS in order to fetch that particular application records. It's a simple way. In order to fetch RO records, this has to be yes. This will also contain live records. And then if you want history records, $HIS should be suffixed in application name. That's it.
Great. I have one more. Can you
Yes.
tell us the challenges while running DLM services, which create high load on DB and their migration?
Okay. So when we are running this copy and purge services, it will obviously create a high load. So for that, we'll have to prepare it accordingly. We will have to increase the CPU before itself, before the implementation of DB import. So this is going to take a lot of time, DB import. And then the same is applicable here. But does it only impact during the services? No, we'll have to do the multi-threading of these services. So we have some batches to be run as a part of copy and purge services. That batches has to be segregated and taken care properly. So this internal process where we can segregate it through separate batches. These applications will be in this part. Like that, we'll have to segregate and check which one is taking more time, taking more CPU. That will have to run a kind of standalone or separate.
That's great. How long it will take for a 5M customer bank like Dubai Islamic Bank?
Okay, if planned properly, it can be implemented uh, within 48 hours.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yes.